Hello, this is Zach from mycodeteacher.com, here to bring you a tutorial on the UI segmented control. A UI segmented control is a horizontal bar that contains segments of the bar which act as specific buttons. There's only one method which is going to control all of the buttons in the segmented control, and we can identify which button was pressed by using the selected segment index property, which will tell us if it's the first, second, third, fourth, etc., the button that was selected, and we'll be able to adjust our code accordingly. So I'm going to teach you how to do that today. So we're going to get started by opening up Xcode here and going to File, New Project. We're going to make this a view-based application, and we're going to call this Segmented Control. Alright, so we're started up here using the SDK 3.1, and as you can see in our classes folder, we have our app delegate and our view controller, which load for us. And in our resources, we have the segmented control view controller.nib file. Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to set an IB outlet and an IB action in our header file of the view controller. So let's go ahead and declare our IB outlet. We're going to set this to a UI segmented control type, and we're just going to call this segment. Now, like I said before, we're only going to have one method executing all of our buttons actions, and like I said, in that method we'll be able to figure out which button was being pushed. We're going to go ahead and call this method selected segment. Okay, so go ahead and save, and we're going to open up our segmented control view controller.nib file. Now, if we go to Tools and our library, we'll be able to drag in a UI segmented control into the project. Now, right off the bat, you see it's defaulted to 2 segments, where the blue is the currently selected segment. Now, if we come here to the first tab, the control attributes, you can set the number of segments that this has, 3, 4, 5, however many you want. We're going to go ahead and leave this at 2. And you can edit each segment by using this drop-down box here, where the first one is segment 0 and the second one is segment 1. And this is going to apply the same way in code. Your third segment is going to be segment 2, your fourth segment is going to be segment 3. So just remember, whatever segment you select, it's going to be that segment minus 1, and that will be the number of the selected index, which we'll get to here in a second. So we can change the title. I'm just going to set the segment 0 title to 1, and the second segment to 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and now click on the Files Owner box here, and we'll be able to connect our IB outlets and our action. So we'll select the second tab here, and as you can see, our segment popped in here. So we're going to drag this to our segment and control, and so that's now connected with our project. We're going to select the selected segment option here. We're going to connect that with an action of value changed. Now, a lot of people would probably think it would be touch up inside because, well, when you touch the segment, you want to execute the method, but that's not the case this time. We're going to use value changed because it's actually going to be changing the value of the selected segment index, and that's when we really want to execute our method because a new button would have been selected. So if you hit the first button 3 or 4 times, the value didn't really change, so it's not going to execute the method over and over again. So go ahead and select value changed and save your interface builder file, and we're going to get back right into code here. Now if we head to the .m file, we're going to go ahead and implement our IB action, and we call this selected segment. And what we're going to want to do is, we actually have our segment declared in Interface Builder. We're going to want to figure out if the first button was selected or the second button was selected. We're going to want to execute something different. So just to make sure that our code is working, what we're going to do is, if the first segment was selected, we're going to make the background of the view blue. If the second segment was selected, we're going to make the background red. So let's go ahead and make a conditional statement. If segment dot selected segment index, as you can see it auto completes here, equals 0, then we're going to set self.view. Remember, this is a view controller. Dot background color equals UI color red color. And so remember, selected segment index being 0 really means it's the first segment. So if we select the first one, it's going to set the background color to red. Let's go ahead and copy this, save us some typing here. Go ahead and move this back here to make it a little bit more organized. Now if segment.selectedIndex equals 1, which is really the second one, we're going to go ahead and make this blue color. Let's go ahead and save, build and go. And here we have the second one where it turns blue. We'll select the first one where it's red. Alright, so it's actually really simple. We were able to distinguish which segment was selected by calling the same method, but deciphering the first and second segments from each other and calling different actions based upon which one was selected. Now, there's also many more things that you can actually do with the segment. Go into the documentation here and show you all the possibilities. We're going to actually do a few of those today. So UI segmented control class reference, and we'll come down here and we'll take a look at all the methods here. So we can insert a segment with a specific image by calling an action. So we can insert a segment with a title. This is the one we're actually going to do. We can get the number of segments that are part of the segmented control. And as you can just see, there's just a ton of options that we can actually do. Setting content, setting the width for a segment at a specific index, so if we want one to be larger than the other. Basically, everything you could think of to do with the segmented control is most likely here. So let's go ahead and we're going to just use this insert segment with title at index. And we're going to insert another segment if we select the second one. Now, not sure why we'd really need this based off if you hit the second segment, but we're just going to go ahead and do it just to show you how it works here. So we have segment, insert segment with title. We're just going to call it title 3 here, at index 2. And animated is going to be yes. So let's go ahead and compile now, and you should see that the segment gets called and inserted. So as you can see, I hit the second segment and it inserted a third segment right there. If I hit it again, go back to 3, hit it again, that'll just keep inserting segments. Alright, so that's actually pretty simple. Now let's go ahead and make it so if the segment is equal to 2, it'll actually remove its own self. So we're going to say segment.selectedIndex equals 2. Then we're going to actually remove segment index 2 with an animation. Yes. Now this will remove it. There we go. And there you go. So it removes it right there. So it's actually really simple to play around with the segmenting control. You can access each specific segment using the selected segment index property and adjust your methods that way. It's really simple, pretty straightforward. Documentation gives a lot of customization for it, and you should be able to go with that. This is going to conclude my tutorial on the UI segmenting control. My name is Zach from iCodeTeacher.com. See you next time.